Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Trail Mix, where the nuts might be a little stale, but the company is always fresh.
The Ice Age is still ongoing in Minnesota. Yesterday, pulling people out of cars in front of protesters, seemingly just to aggravate the protesters to violence, if possible, I guess. I don't know what their purpose is. But here in this video, even the conservative New York Post, Murdoch-owned New York Post, is running video nonstop of what can only be called violence against Americans by the ICE patrol. I don't know what the purpose of all this is. I mean, I don't know how this solves a problem. Seems like it just creates more problems.
She was on the way to the doctor.
We got the whole gang here now. We got Jamie and Carolyn and K-Bear in Minneapolis, and K-Bear, you haven't met Carolyn yet.
No, I have not.
She's one of our in-house counsels and a former federal prosecutor.
Hi, nice to meet you.
We asked her in to talk about this big story here that's at the top of our What America's Clicking this morning on Trail Mix, which is this story about the prosecutors resigning. What do you know about that, Carolyn? My first thought there were 6 prosecutors that resigned. You were at DOJ for a long time. Do you know any of these people?
Oh gosh, no, because I've been gone a long time. So,
yeah.
No, I don't know any of them. It doesn't surprise me, and I'm pretty sure I also read that there were some prosecutors in D.C. Not at the U.S. Attorney's Office, but at Main Justice Civil Rights Division, I think, who had also resigned because of this issue.
And the reports are that they're resigning because they were basically told to cover up the investigation of the officer and focus on blaming the victim. Is that saying it too hard, or is that what it sounds like?
I haven't read that much about it. I read a blurb last night. That's reasonable. That they would have resigned if that had happened. But I don't know. I certainly don't have any inside information. All I know is what I've read, so it's probably the same thing you've read.
What's the normal process when you have a shooting involving a federal officer and there's questions about it, and who investigates? How's it done? Is the state involved? What's the normal way things are done? Then we'll talk about what's actually happening.
Well, it doesn't happen that often, thankfully. And I've never been involved in that. I've had matters where I've been involved in investigating allegations of brutality, but not ever a shooting. Most of the police shooting cases are handled out of D.C. from the Civil Rights Division. And I guess that was probably handled that way with this incident because some of the civil rights prosecutors or lawyers have resigned over it. But that's the normal way that it's covered because of the statutes. Any police brutality is considered a civil rights violation. So it's handled by the Civil Rights Division at Main Justice. And when we say Main Justice, that means the Department of Justice in D.C. as opposed to a U.S. Attorney's Office in one of the judicial districts. So,
and what's the normal course of events involving the state? If the state wants to be involved in the investigation, how does DOJ handle that usually?
Generally, the state is also involved. In my experience, the state prosecutor's office and U.S. Attorney's offices, main justice, are cooperative, work together. That is generally possible and preferable. So that is usually how it happens. There can certainly be parallel investigations and cooperation with one another, and that's generally done. There are occasional flare-ups, disagreements, but for the most part, there is an air of cooperation.
But K-Bear out there in Minneapolis, you've been keeping up with the story. My understanding is the state authorities showed up to participate in the investigation, and they were told to go home.
That is correct. From what we know, and I just want to say this about Thompson. He is, he was the one who actually prosecuted the fraud in Minnesota. Also,
Thompson. He's one of the attorneys that resigned.
He's the attorney that resigned. So he actually prosecuted the fraud in Minnesota in 2021 and 2022. He also was part of the George Floyd prosecution team, and he was working on the Annunciation Church mass shooting, also Melissa Hortman case. Yeah, so it's a hit, but you know, if the government is telling him, hey, you know, we're not going to prosecute this, so you don't have to worry about it, you need to push this narrative. Nah, that's not cool. That goes against ethics.
Carolyn, have you ever heard of the focusing on the victim, the person who was killed, instead of the actual perpetrator here? I mean, that's apparently what's going on.
Well, the way you pose that is difficult to answer.
That's my job.
Yeah, there are times when a person who is a victim is also a participant in criminal activity, and what they are doing here is pushing the narrative that she was involved in criminal activity. That's why there needs to be an investigation to determine that. The facts, the evidence need to be investigated to see what happened, to see who did what. And apparently that is not happening. It appears that there has been a rush to judgment, and she is, from the beginning, was called the perpetrator. And that's my view of it.
And we've got Carolyn for about 15 minutes because she's doing the Lord's work, doing tax returns for people who can't afford accountants, and has to do some studying for that shortly. So Jamie and Kay, any questions for Carolyn or comments about the DOJ policy and history? Because she was there for what, 30 years at DOJ?
A little bit over it.
A little over 30 years at DOJ. So you've seen it all, but you haven't seen anything like this, I don't think.
There's always something new.
And now, go ahead, Jamie. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just curious about a couple of things, namely the Clintons refusing to do a closed door testimony, and then also the penalties involved in not producing the Epstein records. So that's two things going where Congress is saying you shall do this, and other people are saying, no, we won't. What are the legal repercussions of all of those?
Well, and they want to hold the Clintons in contempt of Congress for not testifying, but they apparently aren't going to hold the Pam Bondi in contempt for not honoring the law, the legislation to release transcripts.
And the Clintons were willing to speak publicly, but they weren't going to go closed door or.
No, because then they could be censured.
Yeah.
So that actually, I didn't know that. So Carolyn, that's an interesting question. If they're refusing to testify privately because they are saying they will agree to testify publicly, that's not much of a contempt case, is it?
I wouldn't think so, but then the Department of Justice is responsible for prosecuting any contempt. So
Yeah.
what's going to happen? Now, my understanding is that Jack Smith had also wanted to testify publicly, and Congress refused. They would not let him do it publicly. They insisted on doing it privately, secretly. And I do think that it would make certainly for a lesser contempt case for prosecution. But, you know, the Department of Justice can bring the case against them, and a grand jury can refuse to indict. So that's been happening.
We've got one of our regulars on keyboard, Stuart here. Hey, Stuart. Good morning. He calls himself the mean old conservative. You've got no fangs, Stuart. We don't. We've got much meaner conservatives show up here. We got Carolyn, former federal prosecutor, more than 30 years, talking to us some law talk before she has to go in a few minutes. Stuart, if you've got anything to ask her, and then over to now, Carolyn, I want you to state something that I think doesn't get pointed out often, and it's not a real agreeable to a lot of people who on this Epstein matter. But with your history, you've got a problem with releasing FBI investigation files in any case, not just Epstein. And I think you have a pretty fair point, and one that I don't hear the administration make, that it compromises future investigations, but more importantly, it can cast a light on witnesses and other people mentioned in an investigation who were never actually indicted. It's unfair to those people. Am I stating that correct?
Yeah, and I do think that that's a fair point. And now, in the normal case, there is not a law passed by Congress and approved by the president saying that you must release those files. So that is different. Before that, I was of the opinion that all of the files should not be released. But it is possible to review those files, even where they're voluminous. It can be done, and release what can be released and what does not compromise anybody. But in the ordinary case, there may be conversations or interviews that would reveal information about victims or about people who had nothing to do with it. But they may have been mentioned. It's not, completely unusual for someone to make allegations that are unfounded, and that could have happened.
Yeah. And so we haven't talked since Congress had voted. So you now see a different situation where now that Congress has actually voted for it and the president signed it, that you're more comfortable with these records, these in this case being released.
Well, I still think that there needs to be a very careful review so that you don't release things that shouldn't be released. I don't know that, and the problem is, I think that DOJ is using that to hang their hat on, to say we can't release everything yet because we're still reviewing it. Because they apparently have not released very much of what they have.
Now, Stuart, just to be clear, I'm the one that said Bondi should be held in contempt, not Carolyn. But anyway, the point you raise is, what do you think, Carolyn? I mean, have they reached a point with failing to release these records as called for in that legislation where there ought to be contempt of Congress charges? I realize that's not going to happen from this Republican Congress, but I mean, should it?
I think there is probably a fair argument that they are still reviewing all of the files.
Even though we're more than a month past the deadline?
My understanding is that there are voluminous files, and that can easily happen in an investigation of this magnitude. So there probably is a lot. And I also understood a while back that they were having prosecutors and lawyers from all of the country participate in the review.
They claim they got 400 staff on this, lawyers and investigators.
Well, they aren't really doing much of anything else. So it seems to me that most of the cases of the corruption, the fraud, unless it involves people as such like in Minnesota, where they can flaunt those investigations, but there's a lot that's not being handled by the Department of Justice that in the past has been. And they're doing immigration matters, immigration and fraud, where they can, hold those up as this is why we need to get rid of these people.
Shoots here saying over 1 million were just received. One little detail I noticed, as always with this administration, they say one thing in press conferences, they say another thing when they're under oath in front of a judge, as they were recently about these records with the judge that had said that the grand jury transcript should be released. And he asked them for this, about this business of them saying, oh, we've got millions, we got 1 million, we got 4 million. Anyway, they admitted in court, the DOJ lawyers, that many of these are duplicates. So the one reason they're getting to this high number is they're counting the documents twice.
and that's not unusual, because there may be multiple copies of the same thing.
Right. And they're adding those up and saying, oh, we got so many documents, it'll take us months, but it took a judge, a very on-target judge, probing them in a hearing to get it out of them that, well, yeah, actually a lot of these are duplicates. So it may not be 1 million.
Yeah, that's probable.
Anybody else got anything for Carolyn before she goes to do her good deeds?
Jamie actually read my mind and took my question. So,
and Carolyn's just back from Asia. Where all did you go?
Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia.
oh wow.
It was very nice. It was very nice and warm, hot even.
Did you go to the Raffles Hotel in Singapore and have a drink?
We saw it, did not go in it, but we did walk.
Yeah, they're about there. I think the drinks are about $35.
Yeah, I think they're more than that now. And I don't know that I would even care for it. So I was not willing to pay the price to try it.
Shades of David Niven,
Yeah. Were people talking about us? Were they talking about us? About America?
I didn't engage in the conversation. And most of the people that I traveled with were from the U.S. Also, a lot of Australian, New Zealanders, Brits. So yeah, we're not very popular. That's for sure.
I mean, Jimmy Kimmel got into that in his opening monologue last night, talking about how we used to be, he said, he made the point. He says people always thought we were too loud but kind of annoying in a lot of ways, but now they just can't stand us at all.
Yeah, we used to be the weird uncle that wears the Hawaiian shirts and socks with his sandals, that kind of person. And now we're like total reject from the family picnic.
Now you got things like they asked the Danish people, of course, they got a special reason to hate us since we're trying to take their land. But they were asked, what's the bigger security threat? It's kind of an unfair question in a way, but I liked it. They asked the Danish people, who's the bigger threat, the United States or North Korea? And they picked the United States by about 60-40.
Well, it's just that the ugly American has gotten a lot uglier lately.
Oh, just a bit.
Well, thanks a lot, Carolyn. I know you gotta go do some things.
All right, you guys take care. Enjoy.
You too.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, I also needed to disclose Carolyn's my cousin, so I should
Oh.
point that out.
It's
But one of
handy
the
to have a lawyer in the family.
yeah, I mean, because I went to law school and got licensed and all that, but I never really practiced too much. And but she's one of the, not just my cousin, but one of the. She's a very even tempered, balanced. Sometimes like when we were discussing the Epstein stuff earlier, she was not in favor of releasing the transcripts. But as she pointed out, since Congress has voted, she's got a different take on it. So anyway, back to Minneapolis. I've got some video here that was just stunning. Well, something else I've got is Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah, Joe Rogan. Oh. Mm-hmm.
But the thing about Joe, is anybody else in comments? What were you laughing at, Jamie? Was there something I missed?
Stuart, he doesn't know what to do today. They rather than eat their pastries.
They're very famous for having lots, and Holland and Denmark are very famous for their tulip fields and windmills and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, they were the ones that talk about Ponzi schemes.
Yes, there you go.
Tulip craze.
So now this woman.
You talk about this video right here?
Yes. I will tell you.
One of the
I got
things
really emotional.
Yeah. This was amazing. And where with this video right here, I know others have it, but I'll back it up to the very beginning again, because it is pretty stunning. Is New York, I got this from New York Post. The Murdoch-owned New York Post was playing this in a loop this morning. I saw, and that's where this video actually comes from. This is in front of the protesters. They're dragging people out of their cars, and it almost seems like they're just trying to aggravate the protesters as much as possible, is the way I see it. But anyway, what were you going to say, Kay?
This woman was on her way to the doctor for a doctor's appointment. And
you hear her screaming that out at the time.
Well, but then also she says, I'm autistic. And
oh, is that right?
Yeah, and she was just trying to get to her doctor's appointment. And I'm going to say this as a mom of a special needs kid, is that's how they think, is that I have to get to this, so I'm going to get there no matter how I can. And when she's being stopped by these people and isn't really understanding, and that's the thing is, and I'm going to say this, is that we don't know what is going through these people's heads. If they're panicking, if they're, too far, trying to focus on something else, we don't know. It's just like you don't know what somebody's going through on the other side of the keyboard or the other side of the screen. You don't know their mental health state. And
here they are. They're literally dragging her out of the car.
They cut her seatbelt off with a knife.
Look at that. I mean, come on, people. I don't care what she's done or whatever. I mean, she wasn't doing anything illegal in front of them. I mean, this is crazy. We've just lost our minds. I mean, as a country, that letting this happen.
It breaks your heart, because you just see humanity and human decency just go out the window.
They're basically thugs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there was someone put, I can't remember who it was, I should have grabbed the video when I had the chance, said that the reason why all these ICE agents are like videotaping or taking out their phones and tape recording stuff is because they're trying to do a marketing campaign to get more ICE agents.
Oh my God.
And
like trophies.
Oh yeah, that's why on January 6th, Kristi Noem was in St. Paul with a crew taking video for the marketing campaign.
Wow. Well, I know they're spending a fortune on the market. I mean, they're hiring
Yeah.
10,000 new agents as we're
I
speaking.
know. And it's all these people who, no offense to anyone listening or watching or anything, but they're going after young men with fragile egos, wanting to pay them a $50,000 bonus to join ICE and let them do whatever they please, play real life Call of Duty essentially, or whatever video game they're into. And they don't care if you're they don't care if you have any kind of background. They just want bodies. And
Yeah.
there's another report that's coming out that says that a lot of ICE agents are actually very scared because they don't know what they're doing. That's why you see some of them that are just kind of like standing there, and other ones are actually doing something.
Well, you know, we had our other lawyer, our other House counsel, Pogo, on, and he raised a point. I don't think you were on that at that point, Kay, but he was on here, and we were looking at video of the shooting of Renee Good. He pointed out that funny how none of the other officers there felt threatened enough to draw their weapons.
Exactly.
I had not heard anybody make that point until Pogo said that. Stuart saying here, I watched all the videos from different angles. My takeaway is that half see it the opposite of the other. Yeah, our ideology is perspective. We are truly divided, and that's what is so scary. I tell you what, I don't even see. I agree with you, Stuart. That's what happens, but I'm just not buying that some of the people who are seeing, you know, the video, the administration's way, or saying they are, really are. I mean, I don't believe it.
Yeah, the paid protesters. Believe me, these people.
Yeah,
are
here
not
we
paid.
go.
I'm not getting paid when I go out and protest.
And I hear that all the time, Ed. Where do you get that? Who said any of these people are paid? Why would you be paid to be dragged out of your car like that woman is?
Yeah,
I mean,
she wasn't even protesting.
Where does that come from? No one else pulled the weapon because they weren't in front of a moving vehicle. Well, neither was he.
And actually, he pulled his gun before the vehicle even moved towards him, and he was at the side when the first shot went. You can see his feet on the ground on the side of the car.
Yeah, 2 shots were point blank range through her window at her head.
And I will be honest, I think that rounds back to the DOJ thing. Is I think that they were pushing for the prosecutor to say, no, we're not going to prosecute this case because she was clearly in the wrong. I think that's what they wanted them to say, and they would not. And Keith Ellison has said it over and over again. And
the Attorney General of Minnesota.
I love that man to the earth, to the moon and back. He said, statute of limitations on murder does not run out. We'll just wait until the Trump administration's out of there and we'll charge him.
Now, I guarantee you, Dirty Money, if this happened under Obama, I'd be hollering just as much. I guarantee you.
Me too.
Except that, the difference with Obama is his eyes.
Wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't happen. They weren't doing this kind of thing. And the thing is, under Obama, they were deported. Obama deported as many people as Trump is now, except he was able to make it stick because they did it legally and they did it safely, and courts weren't throwing out the cases like they are now.
Exactly. It was all under due process.
These are the same ICE agents that were there when Obama, Biden were in office.
Well,
no, the guy
Jonathan Ross
has only been there. Jonathan Ross was there for what, 10 years?
10 years.
But anyway,
so he's been there since 2015. Now let's see.
What difference does that make, Jack Brown? I mean, what is your point?
They also had longer training times back then as well. Now it's down to 47 days. 47 days.
I don't know if it's true, but the 47-day training period was out of tribute to President 47.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yes.
That's just plain silly. Let's see. Okay, I'm an absolute moron. Ferris Bueller. Okay. And Bud Russell.
Thanks.
So you were saying that some dumbass flooded our country with millions of illegals? Well, I don't know if that's what you get, but I've said all along, I agree. And I said it during Biden's administration. I thought, well, I always look at things from a political point of view, and I think it was a political mistake and a policy mistake to open up those borders and create this issue the way Biden did. I wish he had maintained Obama's policy, which was pretty tough on immigration, but legally. And so I've always conceded Biden screwed this one up. I think. Anyway.
Well, that's why you can't watch mainstream media. You have to find these independent outlets that are doing the actual like documentation of some of these situations. Oh boy.
Anyway, I'm letting the comments roll there, folks. It's on the screen. I can't put everybody's up before we get all distracted, but anyway, they're all right there. So I'm not hiding anybody. If anybody wants to say that, I'm not. We were talking about Joe Rogan. Do y'all want to go to some Joe Rogan, or we got
yes?
Else?
Show the Joe Rogan video.
Okay. Now, what I've done here with Joe Rogan is a lot of people have been clipping him. This is his show yesterday. Rand Paul was on. He was on with Rand Paul. And people have clipped out some of the things that are more supportive of the notion that he is attacking ICE. And he does. He's very critical.
He does.
In fact, he talks about it. But I've got this clip here is more the whole conversation. So that you get more of a flavor of where he's, because the thing I've found, I've watched Joe Rogan a long time and I disagree with him on many things. I think sometimes he's not basing it on evidence, but I do find that he keeps an open mind and he tries, and that I think makes his opinions more powerful when he comes down on the side of things a little differently than others. See if I've got him on the screen here. Yeah, there he is. Almost. I've got to get the New York Post off there, and then we put him on there, and we hit play. This is a few minutes of him, and you hear the whole context of what he was saying, not just the clips that we've been seeing a lot today.
There's a lot of people that protest ICE. I mean, there was some arrests here, I guess yesterday or the day before. I mean,
he's talking about Austin
shot.
Right there.
I think, unfortunately, well, everything's unfortunate about it, right? But one of the real problems is now ICE are villains, and now people are looking at them like murderous military people that are on the streets of our city, and they're masked up, which is also a problem, right? Because if you get arrested by a cop, you're allowed to ask the cop, what is your name and badge number? And you could film that cop. If you get arrested by an ICE agent, you have no such right. They're wearing a mask. They don't have to tell you shit. That's a problem. That's a problem on our city streets, right? Because you could also pretend to be an ICE agent.
Right.
So I saw this terrible story about this family that was killed where these guys pretended to be a UPS driver. They showed up and they made their way into the house and killed people because they were dressed up as a UPS driver. If you could pretend to be a UPS driver, for sure, you could pretend to be an ICE agent, especially since they're completely anonymous. So think about how many people can get arrested or robbed or by criminals, right? Because you could just have people pretending they're like, it's not like it's impossible to fake their logo, right? It's pretty easy. Just says ICE. You know, how hard is that? You could easily imagine armed gangs pretending to be ICE agents robbing people.
Yeah, I think you could make an argument when you're
Rand
working
Paul.
right along the border or at night with large groups that there's a lawlessness to the cartels that hiding the identities of ICE along the border. It's a little harder to make the argument. And I saw this image in a courthouse in Chicago where it's a big elevator and the ICE agents all have masks on and they're arresting people and it's all women and children in a big elevator in a courthouse. It's like, really, I don't think you really need to be wearing a mask.
Well, they're worried about being
courthouse.
doxxed, and they're finding that happening.
But our local police have to do that, and they don't wear masks. You see what I mean? The local police go to the courthouse to arrest somebody, or on the bright lights of the city during the day.
But again, the local police have to state their name and badge number. The local police have always been here.
Right.
The ICE element is completely new.
Right. I'm saying,
or at least at this scale.
I'm saying that for most of the regular arrests, you probably don't need to have them wearing masks. That's what I'm saying.
The problem is once they don't wear a mask, then they're going to get doxxed, and people have actively doxxed them and threatened their families.
They do that to the local police too, though. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The local police don't.
Right, but the police have always been there, and police are there for a reason. If you call the police, if someone's breaking into your house, you're assuming the police are going to come. You don't call ICE because you don't self-report. You don't say, "Oh, I'm having an issue with some immigrants." We call ICE. No, they're a new factor in the community,
right?
And they're wearing masks. That's a big difference. It's not the same comparison. Like most people, except the kooky people that went nutty during 2020 after the George Floyd riots, that were like, defund the police. Like, and boy, did they change their tune as soon as they started getting riots and their buildings burned down. They're like, where's the police? Well, you fucking defunded them, stupid. Like most people believe that police are necessary. Most people believe that crime is awful and you can't have murderers and armed robbers roaming the street. You should arrest them. And you're going to need police officers to do that. But those same people that believe that might also believe that once someone is here, they should be able to stay in this country, and ICE is operating illegally, and we shouldn't have militarized groups of people roaming the streets, just showing up with masks on, snatching people up, some of them U.S. citizens, and shipping them to countries they didn't even come from. So that's why they have to wear a mask. If you want them to do that job, if you want them to be able to deport 500,000 people over a year, which is a lot of people, if that's the real number, they're going to be, their life's going to be at stake. Yep. You're not going to be able to get people to do the job unless you allow them to be anonymous. And then again, allowing them to be anonymous creates a whole host of other problems where you could have people pretend to be them. And how would you know who's who and who's not?
Yeah. Some people have offered sort of an in-between where they wear badges that have a number or a first name on them, such that when you're arrested, if I think you've abused my rights in arresting me, Steve, and a number 324.
People are going to dox them instantaneously. Their face will be on the internet instantaneously. They'll make lists. They'll put it on social media sites. It's complicated, obviously, but it's also very ugly to watch someone shoot a U.S. citizen, especially a woman, in the face.
Right.
Where it's like, I'm not that guy. I don't know what he thought. And again, this is a guy who had almost been run over, but it just looked horrific to me. I mean, when people say it's justifiable because the car hit him, it seemed like she was kind of turning the car away. It seemed like she was out of her fucking mind to begin with. That lady seemed crazy, right? And didn't she move there specifically to get involved in all this?
Yeah,
she doesn't seem mentally healthy. But does that mean she should be shot in the head? Is there no other way to handle this? But and then you got these people that are showing up at these ICE people and they're blocking traffic. And she was one of them that was doing those kind of things where they think they're an activist and they're an agitator.
Right. But I get back to my initial sort of argument about having local police do it. They're not doing it. But in an ideal world, the way we fix this and have less ICE agents in cities where they're having a very difficult job is the local people do their job and they're not sanctuary cities.
Well, how could you stop sanctuary cities?
Well, I'm not sure I can. What I'm saying is that some of the blame for ICE being there is the left and their policies of sanctuary cities.
Right.
So when they want to just say, oh, we hate ICE and we don't want ICE in our city, maybe they should be reflecting that ICE is in your city because you're disobeying the law. And when someone is arrested and they're clearly not a citizen, you're not reporting them to ICE. See, it's defiance. It's nullification. They have been nullifying our laws on deportation for years and years. And so now they have something they really dislike. But who brought it upon? My point is the left brought this. It's not an answer, but it's an explanation that the left is bringing this to their cities because they're refusing to enforce the laws.
Right. And they don't want those laws. They don't like those laws. They think that once people are here, they should be able to stay. And, this is what my friend Gad Saad calls suicidal empathy.
Yep.
I think
follow him.
And I think there's there's a balance to be achieved. I just don't know how it gets done, because I see both perspectives. I see the perspective of the people that say, hey, there was an illegal program moving people in here to get votes, moving people in here to get congressional seats, and we've got to change that. We've got to take those people that got in and send them back to where they came from, or do something, because if we don't, they're going to keep doing it if they get in office again in 2028, and it's going to accelerate. And you're going to have to take away some of the damage that's been done to a true democratic system, because you've kind of hijacked it, and they kind of have. And then I can also see the point of view of the people that say, yeah, but you don't want militarized people in the streets just roaming around, snatching people up, many of which turn out to actually be U.S. citizens that just don't have their papers on them. Are we really going to be the Gestapo? Where's your papers? Is that what we've come to? So it's more complicated than I think people want to admit.
That last part is what people have been quoting, where he says, is this the Gestapo? They leave out the first part where he talks about the other side of the equation. I mean, I disagree with him about saying that the Democrats were trying to import people as voters. That's really,
because they can't even vote if they're illegal aliens. You can't vote. You get no health care benefits. You can't get insurance. You can't get a driver's license. You have to have a social security card to get a driver's license. You need a social security card to vote. You need all that stuff. They can't do it without it. And a lot of these people have come on asylum, are asylum seekers. And that's why they come to a sanctuary city, is because they're seeking asylum. They have their paperwork in and they're waiting for it to go through. It takes a long time. I have a very, very, very good friend that's actually in Maryland who moved here a year and a half from Mexico. She did it all legally through her student visa, everything good. She got married to an American. And she said, she bleached her hair blonde so she doesn't look as Mexican, because she said, I may have my green card and my social security card and I'm applying for citizenship, but she said I could be snatched off the street, no problem.
Jamie, you and I did that video a while back where about the whole issue where Trump was saying that on the census, talking about the census, and that that we shouldn't count illegals because then it lets them vote. This has been one of Jamie's pet peeves for a while, is this whole craziness that we're letting illegals vote.
We're not letting them vote, but we count them in the census because they are here, because that is the way the census was set up.
Exactly.
If you are in the country, then government has to pay attention to you. Doesn't matter why you're here, how you're here, what short of time. On April 14th of every 10 years, you get counted, no matter who you are. If you could be passing through. But I've got two comments here on what we're showing on here. I commented today on muskrat, and YGAV3 is saying apartheid will be fully implemented. And I accused muskrat of trying to turn the United States into 1950 Johannesburg.
Wow.
Yeah. Muskrat.
But just on nothing new under the sun, in 1956, my stepfather was a deputy sheriff in Fresno, and as such, he often went on ICE raids. Mm-hmm. And even then, they were selective. They went after cockfights and dog fights, and any place that they were gathering to do criminal activity, whatever it might be. Right. Those guys they went after. The guys standing in line for day labor, they didn't bother. Sure, they might be illegal, but they were working, doing an honest job.
And contributing to society.
Right. So for a couple of years of my life, I lived with a gun belt hanging on the chair in the dining room.
Well, I will say
I was going to touch it. Hell no.
Last night, it was very interesting. because I was watching. I told you about Status Quo yesterday, right?
Yeah,
So
I love that
I was
name.
watching that because they were down at the protests, and there was a line of protesters standing there, staying where they're supposed to be, and just out of nowhere, they started shooting flashbangs at them.
Now, what's
just
a flashbang?
into the crowd. They're like little grenades that explode.
Oh boy.
And they make a really loud noise. So they shot them at the crowd. Now, I will say I did read a story last night also about a guy that was out, a 21-year-old kid, I think, out in California that got shot with a pepper ball in his eye. He is now legally blind.
Wow.
And
I mean, that'll be a lawsuit. That that's something I got into yesterday into some of the numbers. Maybe I'll find it. I'll pull it up. But anyway, the lawsuits are exploding. There have been 10 since Trump took office and all this ICE business started. Just lawsuits against ICE, not agents individually, but the federal government for deprivation of rights and substantive due process violations. 10,000 cases have been filed. That is twice the number in past years. And of course, where that matters is, the government's got to pay for their lawyers to defend those, but also if they're judgments, if these are civil cases being filed for money damages, and the estimate right now is we could be looking at a $30 billion price tag for lawsuits against the federal government that taxpayers pay because they have violated rights, and juries are going to find them liable for it.
And the beautiful thing about the protest last night with these flashbangs is that those protesters did not leave. They went right back up to the line. They backed off while those went off. They went right back to it. And then we also found out that ICE is staying at a hotel right off the University of Minnesota campus where many international students go. So don't you think that's a little bit crazy? So they flooded the parking lot and had instruments and playing loud noises and stuff. And you know what? People want to fight for this. We want to fight because we're proud of this state. We're proud of where we live. We're proud of our community. And I will tell you, I will shout it to the rooftops. I am proud of Minneapolis for doing what it's doing and fighting against the system that's causing so much heartache and pain for families and for friends and just the community in general. I believe not prosecuting for this case for Renee Good, who was clearly murdered. I feel so bad for her family and friends and her community because we're not going to get justice. We're not going to get the justice that everyone deserves. No one needed to die that day, but somebody made a choice to shoot. He could have shot out a tire.
Well, and despite all these thousands of people out protesting, I mean, they have been remarkably peaceful. Now, I don't like seeing some of the folks who throw rocks or stuff at the agents. That's bad. That's wrong. It's dumb. Also, because then it just gives them an excuse to fire back and call you violent. But I mean, they have been largely peaceful, and nobody can really say otherwise. And let's see. Well, I guess we're still not going to have time to get to my other favorite story.
Yes. Threatening a criminal indictment.
I'm still worked up about
my testimony
Jerome
before the
Powell
Banking Committee last June. That testimony concerned in part the
attempted takeover of the Federal Reserve by this president is a dictator move, and in some ways, Federal Reserve has more impact on our daily lives than Congress, because the Federal Reserve, what it does goes to how much we pay for everything from eggs to car loans, and so I really think it sounds like a nerdy topic, but I'm very big on watching how this transpires, this Trump's attempted takeover of the Federal Reserve.
Oh, Stuart is commenting again. I don't imagine Stuart would be shooting through an open window directly at someone's head either.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
He may not shoot out tires, but I'm sure he wouldn't shoot a woman that way.
But I don't know. Like I said, there was just clearly steps
You
taken.
know,
Yeah, I
and
see some of it on her fault, some of it on his fault, but at the same time, it didn't need to end that way.
yeah. And he was so grievously injured that he strolled away down the street calling her a fucking bitch.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was so gravely injured
Yes. I mean, horrendous.
and fighting for his life in the hospital, Christy Nome.
Yeah, actually, I pulled some video on that yesterday, and is this the one where he's walking away? Yeah, I mean, the part where he's walking away. I don't know if you were around yesterday. I did this with Pogo the other day. Okay, we got into this this video here of this is a French group that does forensic, independent of any government.
Oh yeah.
And this was the conclusions they draw and show here are pretty interesting. This fellow's, I'm sure a lot of people are thinking this. You have so much time to stop the film and analyze. How much time did this guy have to analyze what was going to happen to him in a split second? Well, that's a fair point. I mean, we're able to slow this all down and look at it as milliseconds. If he was reacting in the moment. I would say, though, they're trained to be able to make the right decisions quickly. They're not just, or at least we hope, they're not just average folks shooting from the hip, so to speak.
Those things happen really quickly. And you got, that officer has to make a decision in the heat of the moment.
But going back to our DOJ policy, you can't just shoot at a moving car because it's moving and you don't want it to move. I mean, that's not the policy on deadly force.
Very true.
It's also hard to.
I have to share this because this is my husband just texted me this. He said, it seems Trump is just doing everything he can illegally. So I wonder if he either thinks he will sooner or later go to jail. So he'll do as much as he can illegally as he can for the Republican Party. It makes sense to me because he really just doesn't care and thinks he will pardon himself or the next president will.
That gets a drum roll.
Yep, that's my hubby.
Drum roll for hubby. I agree with that.
That's my hubby with the Christian nationalist mother.
But yeah, I mean, he sort of implied that Trump himself, not recently when he was talking about how they have to win the midterms because if we don't win the midterms, they're going to impeach me again. And I think he also knows, he could the criminal charges, but that's also in the same passage when he said, and maybe we just shouldn't have the midterms. I mean, that was the other thing he said in that same passage.
Exactly.
We'll just get rid of the midterm, and don't think that's just a joke.
I think that's a big reason why he's pushing so hard on Minnesota, because he thinks that Tim Walz will call in the National Guard, but Tim Walz is smarter than he thinks. He's not going to call in the National Guard. He has them on standby in case we need to do it. If it gets, I mean, it's getting bad, but the thing is,
they need the National Guard to protect people against ICE, which is actually what's happened in some other states.
Well, and that's what Minnesotans want. But the problem is that he's playing a really dangerous game of chess. If we call in that National Guard, we know Trump is willing to put the Insurrection Act on Minnesota and then turn the National Guard against us.
Yeah.
And then it will become martial law everywhere. And we don't want to be that catalyst.
I get my drum roll out for this fellow too, Steffelson. It's strange how the
Yes.
"Don't Tread on Me" crowd have become cowardly, bootlicking pushovers. MAGA cultist ideals are so malleable, it's pathetic. Can you imagine? I just to take it back a few years, y'all remember the Tea Party in the Obama years. What if Obama was sending federal agents against the Tea Party like this is like this stuff going on? What would we be hearing from that side on that? Because I think MAGA is really just the Tea Party under a different name and a different leader.
We just don't have Sarah Palin saying she can see Russia from her house. God, gag me with a spoon.
Anyway,
Sorry, that was
Bunky,
really
I'm
millennial
out
to
of
say.
here. The rest of you have a really great day.
Oh
yeah,
yes.
we're right at our hour, and I was going to end up with something kind of fun. Jamie is 17-year-olds. I was going to end with this just for something different. I got 17-year-olds here trying to figure out a rotary phone.
Love it.
And I thought this was kind of a hoot. So I'm going to wind us up with it. And everybody in comments, thank you for showing up. Go to trailmix.cc and where we talk the rest of the day, all day. And it's easy to comment there. Go on over to trailmix.cc and we'll wind up here watching some 17-year-olds try to figure out a rotary phone. And they're not, it turns out they're not too good at it either.
Is that correct in saying that?
Yeah. So you don't stop at this. Oh, there's the last one? Because look.
You just successfully dialed 0.
No. Stop. Okay. So. Wait. So when we go like this, they said that was right.
Kyle, move to your right a little bit, please.
I don't like that. So.
Sorry.
So if this was 0, then. Wait. Does the second one
watch out.
0? The second
Is this correct?
0?
Bring it all the way around and then like, bruh.
Look, that's 0. That's one
I mean, this is real. They really don't understand this thing.
You guys have made this all worth it.
It's like when I tried to teach my grandma how to use a cell phone for the first time.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Think of different.
Yeah, that's
fun. Then
that's what I like about this.
What do you hear?
It's payback. It's payback for all the kids who make fun of us for not being able to find the remote. You know,
Right.
We get to turn the tables here.
We had to get up and
Correct
turn
for
the
0.
knobs on the
What is
TV
0
to change the channel.
It was 0 something.
It just goes.
Okay, Jamie and Kay, thanks for showing up.
Okay.
And,
Yeah,
we'll
have
be
a good
back.
day.
We'll be
Yeah,
back.
Have a
this
good
is
day,
fun
everyone
for
in the
me.
comments.
That's a
Everybody
long
go to-
distance operator's job no longer exists. I've enjoyed.
You guys are doing great. Because you're talking.
Oh,
very
that's
north
right.
and
You used to be a
Yeah,
long
we're
distance
all in
operator.
last place.
We
So
Right.
went all the way over here. I think it's.
All right,
told
you
you
two
the
have a good
story
day.
about the Alaskan earthquake, right?
Oh.
all the way around.
All right.
Stop there.
what's with all the holes?
Okay, I'm Lady Mau Mau, Craig's built-in emergency brake. If this wasn't enough for you, sign up for the newsletter. It's free, it's thoughtful, and it occasionally makes sense.